Hello, Sleepyheads. Today I'm going to share with you my typical hair care routine. It's pretty simple, so I may splice in some clips. I may splice in some clips to make things more interesting. And when I say my routine is simple, just to be clear, I said something similar about my makeup routine. It's not meant to be like a boast of any kind. Of course, when I say they're simple, that's relative to other people's hair care routines and makeup routines. And there are so many people whose routines are much simpler than mine. I just mean relative to the amount of time I spend on these things. I guess I'm speaking more about my experience as a compulsive person who takes a long time to do simple tasks. So I think it's funny that I spend so long on my makeup, and sometimes it looks like I did fairly little because someone else could do the same routine in 10 minutes, but for me it takes much longer. So in general, even though there are plenty of ways I could expand my routines to have more of the effect I desire, add some things into my makeup routine that would make me feel more confident, add things to my hair care routine that would make my hair look healthier. I don't right now. I'm looking for ways to cut down on the time it takes me to do my tasks. And there's compulsivity in how you navigate the world on a daily basis. The simplest tasks can take an extraordinarily long time. So I have to keep the routines fairly simple, relatively simple, because it already takes me so long to do what I do. So, not a humble brag. It's more an acknowledgement that my effort to effect ratio is a little out of whack. There are people able to have greater impact with their makeup who spend less time on it than I do. So it's with a kind of sheepishness that I share with you my routines, because I feel like I don't really know what I'm doing. I feel like the myopia of my OCD keeps me kind of locked into routines for a lot longer in life than someone else might stay in a less effective routine. So someone else in the same amount of time over the years has really honed their routine, really maximized or optimized their hair care, skin care, makeup look. But for me it takes a little longer to implement changes over time. So yes, I have to keep it fairly simple, or else I stand to lose a lot more time in my day than someone else would, if that makes sense. So it's kind of funny that I picked today to do this chat, this routine, this show and tell, because my hair does not look its nicest. Sorry for the rumbles. It's second day hair, and I slept on it, got lots of bedhead, and then it just kind of collapsed because on the second day it always goes straighter and straighter. I'll explain the texture in just a moment. Yeah, I also haven't gotten a haircut in several months. I'm really due for one, so the ends are really dry, pretty broken. So yeah, this is not my hair at its best, but maybe that is the perfect time to talk to you about it. This is my hair on an average day. So first thing I'm going to tell you about is my hair color. I've had red hair since I was born. Actually, since before I was born with it, and the doctors could actually see my red hair through the final layers of my mother's uterus. I was a C-section baby. Sorry if that makes you a little squeamish, but there you have it. Everyone knew I was a redhead, technically, before I was born. Yeah, and it's stayed pretty much the same color my entire life. It's never been dyed, like, certainly I've done nothing to my hair in terms of color in the last 2 years, so you're really seeing the true color. But in terms of what I have done with the color, it's always been additive. I've done glosses and glazes. I don't know if those terms are interchangeable, but I've done that kind of short-term additive color maybe 4 or 5 times in my life. I'll put a clip in from one of those times. It's really just to punch up the red, and it washes out after 7 or 8 shampoos, and I shampoo my hair more frequently than the average person. A few years ago I was doing it every day, but I'll get to that in a moment. So yeah, those aren't a great value for me. They wash out pretty quickly, but sometimes I do that to balance my color, because a hairstylist once noticed that my hair certain times of the year, especially when I've been out in the sun, can be more red on top and get a little duller at the ends. So I have the opposite of what someone who colors their hair may experience, where the color growing in is less vibrant. Sometimes I get more coppery up on top and duller toward the ends of my hair. And yeah, it's been speculated by one of my hairstylists who first identified this imbalance that that's because it's where the sun is hitting me. So my hair can get more brassy. It can also get a little blonder depending on the time of year. It can get more coppery. I have not started to go white anywhere at this point in my life. That is probably what's going to happen to me as a redhead. Redheads don't go gray. They go kind of sandy and then eventually white. So I've never had that happen yet. I did one time find a white hair at the nape of my neck. This was several years ago, and it freaked me out. I thought I was young to be losing my color, but I pulled it out. It never came back. And now I wonder if it was just a really, really light blonde hair, because my pigmentation is different at the nape of my neck. I have a little patch of blonde hair, a little streak. Yeah, it's always been there. And my family is very blonde, especially on my mom's side. Both my siblings are blonde, very Scandinavian on my mom's side, specifically Norwegian. We had some Thorsons higher up in our family tree, so that's about as Viking a name as they come. So yeah, that's everything on the color of my hair. I do like the color of my hair. I get lots of compliments on it. One time I asked you all, what are the top 3 compliments you receive in life? For me, the color of my hair is definitely in my top 3. And my mom told me she never wants me to change the color, so I mean, she didn't want me to get tattoos and piercings either, and I did, so I'll give her this one. So now let's talk about texture. My hair may seem straight, especially because this is, like I said, second day hair, and it's so long, but my hair does have a good amount of wave and even a little bit of curl in it. Sorry, I think someone's blending something somewhere. So I can get kind of tendrils by my ears and at the nape of my neck. I used to have curls in my hair when I was really little, and I still have a good amount of wave, so much so that my hair can be pretty poofy when it's shorter. So I do actually like to keep it long for that extra weight, to weigh down the waves, make it heavier, less poofy. It kind of pulls up when it's under a certain length. Thank goodness. Kind of pulls up, gets kind of poofy. So yeah, I keep it long, of course. It's extra long right now. It's got this kind of flyaway texture. I get lots of little wispies. It's pretty fine, but I do have a lot of it. Like a lot of it. Like when hairstylists will section it off or try to curl it, they're always surprised. There's a lot in there. I get a lot of comments on the glossiness of my hair, the health of my hair. I'm going to pull one out right now, to the mortification of anyone watching who knows how bad it is to pull your hair out. So, someone once told me growing up, and then another stylist corroborated this claim, that red hair has more elasticity. It's kind of like fishing wire, I think is what one of them said. The comparison one of them made was to fishing wire, to a fishing line. So very elastic. So I think it withstands damage pretty well. It still gets very dry looking, especially because these days I do air dry it so much. So when I air dry it, it gets pretty frizzy. So I do air dry it most days. All days actually, I always air dry it. Sometimes I'll curl it later after it's dried, but yeah, I never blow it dry. That's because even though air drying it makes it a little frizzier, I think the overall effect is softer and more voluminous. When I blow it dry, it may be glossier, but it eventually collapses. You know, if I overly smooth the cuticle, I lose volume because it's nice and slippery, but they all stick together. So I look like I have less hair. It kind of all clumps together eventually. And if I straighten it, then it's even more severe. I just don't think it's a good look with my facial structure. Super sleek hair. I like to leave it softer and let some of those little waves come out. That said, the best my hair looks is when I curl it. So yes, in terms of overall finish, polish, the nicest my hair ever looks is when I've curled it. I'll get into that a little later, but it just smooths my hairs while introducing or keeping some sort of curl or wave in my hair. So I think that looks best, but I don't always have the energy. So a lot of the time I do air dry my hair, and it does look a little frizzy, and that's okay with me. It's a little frizzy. I have lots of wispies. My hair tangles very, very easily, so I have to brush it out, comb it out very often. My voice is disappearing on me again. I'm sorry if I'm vacillating between soft speaking and whispering. I have a cough drop in now to try to aid my voice in maintaining the soft speaking, but it's always a losing battle these days. So it's possible when I talk about how my hair is frizzy when it's hair dried, and how there's some wave and some even curl in it that can be encouraged, and that comes out when it's shorter especially. It's totally possible that I have more of a curl pattern to my hair than I know, and that's something I could cultivate, I could encourage with certain products and the proper routine. But again, I'm loath to add in more steps to my routine at this time. So it's a little question that remains and that I may investigate down the line in future years. But like I said, I am not in a good place right now to be adding more steps to my routine, at this time when I'm trying to simplify. So yeah, I never really finished that line of thought about the glossiness of my hair. You're all very sweet to comment on that. I do think it just comes down to the natural texture of my hair, that kind of elastic quality we were talking about, plus the fact that I have not really dyed my hair, nothing that lifted the follicle anyway. So that helps keep your hair healthy, supposedly. That's the conventional wisdom of it. But I have been brutal to my hair in terms of heat damage. There was a good chunk of my life, especially as a teenager, when I compulsively straightened my hair. I would take my straightener with me everywhere, plug it in bathrooms, had no shame about taking time to touch it up, even if it looked perfectly straight already. It was, like I said, a compulsive thing, and I even had a car straightener to plug into my cigarette lighter, or whatever that little outlet is called. So yeah, that was pretty brutal on my hair. Another reason I don't straighten it now at all. I do things with heat. I'll curl my hair once or twice a week with a curling iron, but I stay away from straightening it. Not that there's much of a difference, probably in terms of heat damage, but just because I have such negative associations with that method. And, the resulting look reminds me of a less well era in my life, a time of unwellness. So yeah, hopefully this all paints a picture of why I like to just keep my routine as simple as possible these days. I've definitely paid my dues in terms of many hours worrying about my hair, fussing over my hair, and it's been super liberating for me to simplify and to be able to accept imperfection, kind of just let it do its own thing, and to find a way of styling it with the curls that I do like, because I think why I liked straight hair was there's an objective end point when you try to make your hair as straight as possible, whereas when you curl your hair, there's, at least for my hair texture, some element of entropy always at play. Like, you're going to curl your hair and it's going to fall, the curls are going to change, they're going to soften or get poofier or something, and that's a little harder to restore when you're already out and about, whereas you can really quickly take a straightening iron, a straightener, and blow through your hair, pressing it into submission. So there's something, I don't know, it's emblematic, or maybe symptomatic of my, well, no, not symptomatic, it's me being less symptomatic. So yes, it's emblematic of the progress I've made with my OCD, that I can wear my hair in curls and be open to the progression of the curls throughout the day, the changes in my hair, you know, the feeling of the lesser feeling of control. So yeah, it's softer all around, softer in many ways, softer energetically, like I'm treating myself with more softness, and that correlates nicely with the kind of visual theme of my curly hair, of my curled hair. Anyway, now I'm getting way off track. So, what is my routine? So for a long time, I needed to wash my hair every single day. Again, that's just where I was with my OCD for a long time. I grew up taking 1 to 2 showers a day and always washing my hair. It took me a long time in life and lots of nudging, scolding from different hairstylists to dial back the hair washing. And yes, it did come easier to me when I got some relief. When I was feeling less symptomatic overall, I was more able to make changes like that. So a few years ago, I was feeling a little better, maybe 2 or so years ago now, and I pulled back my hair washing, and it was a big leap for me because your hair does need to adjust. That being said, my hair adjusted pretty quickly because I'm a naturally dry-skinned, dry-haired person. I don't produce a lot of sebum naturally, so it's all the sillier that I was washing my hair so much. But I am the sort of person who is prone to imagining grease, imagining grime and dirt and, contamination, things like that. So it took me a long time to dial that back, and I was able to go 3, even 4 days very comfortably. Never really got visibly greasy or even greasy to the touch, and realized how silly I had been. So even though I could go longer just because I love washing my hair, it feels so good to me, I got to a point where I would wash my hair every 3rd day. And even though I could have taken it further than that for the health of my hair, probably to its benefit, I didn't, because I can only take that so far psychologically. The need to wash is very strong in me. So yeah, I got to a point when I was washing it every 3 days, but I would put it up and I would shower very thoroughly every day nonetheless. Sometimes even washing right up to my scalp line. Cheating a little bit. Trying not to overwash my hair, the ends especially. I did have a big shift hormonally this past year. I changed birth control methods, and in the immediate aftermath, my body went haywire, berserk, and I was producing a lot of sebum, a lot of oil, and it was a really difficult time. It played into a lot of my anxieties and things that used to bother me even when they weren't real were really happening. So yeah, I get very bothered even at the faintest hint or suggestion of oiliness on my scalp. So that was a tough time. I needed to find products to help me. I was getting a really itchy scalp. I'm not going to go too into that whole experience. That could be a whole other video about changing forms of birth control, but I did change my hair routine after several years of doing kind of the same thing consistently out of necessity, just to deal with the onset of higher sebum production, elevated sebum production. So I'm going to talk a bit about that when I show you my products. But just to finish with the technique, I did for a while this past year. I have to wash my hair every day. I have to go back to doing that. And then when my sebum levels dropped back down, I was able to go back to every other day, and that's where I am now. I could probably go back to every 3 days because I am starting to feel like myself again in terms of oil output, but I'm still recovering a little from the mild, I'm being hyperbolic when I say this, but the mild trauma of being so uncomfortable, of going through those hormonal changes and being so uncomfortable. So yes, every 2 to 3 days I shampoo my hair. Once a week I'll use a clarifying shampoo. The rest of the time I use my regular shampoo. Condition it really well. Make sure it's nice and brushed out. I may need to do a companion video where I show you these things. So maybe this is just an introductory video, a jumping off point. But yeah, it's very simple. Shampoo, condition, make sure it's nice and detangled. I'll usually brush it out when it has conditioner in it in the shower. You're not supposed to really brush your hair when it's wet, but my hair is so tangle prone, so I'll brush it before my shower, otherwise it would be a mess. And then when it's conditioned, I'll brush through it again, and then when I'm out of my shower, I put it up in a microfiber cloth. Then when it's maybe halfway dry enough that it's not dripping, not leaving any water residue on my clothes, I'll take it out, brush it out, give myself a nice defined part with a rat tail comb, and really slick down the top. I like that kind of 70s look. I like the bulk of my volume to be at eye level or below, so I'll really make sure that it's nice and smooth. And then when it's 95% dry, I'll take some hair oil in my hands and work it through the ends to try to help with my frizz and to try to seal the ends that may have gotten a bit ratty, because I only get a haircut every 3 or 4 months. I do have a very long anagen phase. I'm one of those people who could grow my hair to the floor if I wanted to, which I don't, but I do like it extra long, maybe to my mid-back. So now let me show you some of the products I use. For the longest time in terms of shampoos, I wasn't particularly picky. I just wanted them to be vegan. So I would use products from this vegan line, A Cure. So my neighbors are chit-chatting. I think I got a little in my hair. I tried to wipe these down beforehand, and then once every week or two I use a clarifying shampoo just to remove buildup. And then for my conditioner, I tend to go for things that promise to add body and be super moisturizing. I don't know how different conditioners can really be from one another. To me, they've always felt pretty similar to one another, all the conditioners I've ever used, but that's something I could be really wrong about, so I tend to go for something that smells nice and not too expensive, because I go through a lot of conditioner more than any other product just because of the length of my hair. My neighbors are being so loud. So yes, there was a period after I changed birth control when my skin and my hair were producing so much oil, my body was freaking out. I could barely keep up. My skin and my hair are still to this day making the adjustment because it hasn't been a year yet. It can take up to that long for your body to normalize, to be able to regulate itself again. So I'm still having some skin issues. My scalp health is much better now. I think I jumped in as soon as I started noticing the signs. My scalp is really dry, really itchy. I got dandruff, not visible, not like flakes, but I got crystallized dandruff. It's like little clogged pores on your scalp, little bits of sebum that feel gritty, sandy, and I'm so compulsive. I was constantly checking for them. It was pretty distressing. It's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it's just hard when your body goes through changes. You know, we all talk about how difficult puberty is, but the truth is that we go through changes like that all throughout our lives, especially if you have specific hormonal needs. You know, if you are transitioning or you are experimenting with birth control methods, or your mental health needs somehow impinge upon your hormonal health, things like that. Being pregnant, being postpartum, being menopausal, being sick, you know, having physical health issues, so stress. So there are all kinds of things that bring us into these awkward phases with our bodies. And I definitely had a big awkward phase during quarantine. So yeah, I was really bothered. I was constantly trying to feel. If you have OCD, you're big on checking, doubting. So I would wash my hair, and then all throughout the day I was checking for those little bits of grit, of sand, the telltale signs of a greasy scalp and early formation of dandruff, or maybe it's just a type of dandruff. I really wanted to nip it in the bud because I was so uncomfortable, and so I read that some people mistake dandruff as a sign of a dry scalp, which makes sense, you know, visually. It's actually symptomatic of an oily scalp, so I knew I needed to jump in and change up my washing routine and be washing my hair more regularly. I tried to hold out. I was like, what if washing it just makes it greasier, you know? I tried to hold out for it to normalize, but it just was lasting too long and I was too uncomfortable. So ultimately I saw a comment in like a support thread on Reddit for people transitioning to IUDs and having these sebum issues, these oil control issues with their skin and their hair. Someone said, just do what makes you comfortable. You know, wash your hair as often as you need to feel okay, comfortable. So I did that, and I found this shampoo. That's a silly way to say that. This shampoo, it's got salicylic acid in it, which is, good for treating acne. Salicylic acid products in general interrupt that cycle, help with oil control and cell turnover. So, similar logic applies to the skin on your scalp when it's in distress, inflamed, out of whack. And I was getting clogged pores on my scalp. It is like an extension of your face skin. So this helped a lot. And it was a huge relief to find. And I also used, in the meantime, this product to pre-treat my hair. Going into a shower, I would put this on my scalp and feel this cooling sensation because it was hurting, it was aching, it was so tight feeling it would actually hurt. And this product had a really cooling, soothing effect and helped treat my scalp when it was really inflamed. I would brush it through my hair when it was dry and leave it on for like 10 or 20 minutes before a shower. So both these products are vegan. This one is cruelty free. This one I don't think is. Larger companies like Neutrogena have yet to, sorry for the noise, larger companies like Neutrogena have yet to make the switch to cruelty-free practices. So I knew that I didn't want to keep using this product in the long term, but I couldn't find anything else that gave me relief. I tried a few other things, and this is what really worked for me. Now that things feel more under control, I'm going to switch to Paula's Choice. I haven't tried it yet, but I think that there's more of an emphasis in this product on healthy scalp skin than in the Cure line. So I'm hoping that this is a nice middle ground. It's not as much of a treatment as the T-cell, but I'm hoping I don't really need that anymore. I do a few times a week now wash with different shampoos, and I've noticed that, just because I'm trying to use up all my shampoos, waste not, want not, and I'm also curious, and I've been happy to see that the effect is pretty much the same across the board. So I think I've turned a corner and my skin and my hair are kind of returning to normal, or I guess I'm starting to see what the new normal will be, because my skin may never be as perfect as it was on oral contraceptives. Those are, known to be a huge boon to the look of one's skin, but I think I am starting to see what my skin and my hair will look like in the long term, look and feel like in the long term with my IUD. So yeah, this product promises to treat the skin of your scalp a little more intentionally, and also to avoid putting product in your hair that when it washes down your back runs the risk of breaking out your back. So it's supposed to be good for people dealing with acne, because realistically when you put anything in your hair, it's going to have some contact with your face, your back, the skin of your neck, your shoulders, and if you have long hair like me, your chest. So So I'll try this out and let you know. As for the oil I use, I've been using this oil by Devaness for several years. I love it. If I were to suggest one thing to you, I don't know if you think my hair looks healthy or glossy in spite of its flyaways and kind of frizzy texture. If you ever think it looks nice, especially when I've curled it, the one product I would recommend is this one. My hair would be much frizzier on days when I just let it air dry and don't curl it if it weren't for this. And that kind of glossy effect that I do get when I curl it is helped a lot by this as a kind of finishing product. I do think it helps my curls stay longer too, because my hair is moisturized, so it's less likely to take in the moisture in the air around it and then get poofy or fall, because it's not fully set anymore once it's gotten a little wet. So yeah, I think this is helpful in that way. I don't know if that's true. Again, I don't really have any idea what I'm talking about. Last thing I'm going to show you, this is the curling wand I use every time I curl my hair. It's either this one or overnight curls. I've gotten really lazy these days. I'm doing a lot of overnight curls. You can see some of that technique in my unintentional ASMR videos. I think the second one in particular. But yeah, I think I'll insert those clips here all the same, just for a better line of sight. But when I do want more control over my curls, or more of the time and energy to full on curl my hair with a heat tool, hot tool with heat, I don't know. I use this. It's a 1-inch wand, no clamp. I just take sections about this big. And I'm pretty messy about it, just like this. And then when it falls, I kind of collect it into a little ringlet. And sometimes I'll pin it in place, like a pin curl. And I'll do my whole head like that. I'll pin them in place with, this is just full of little alligator clips. So I'll do my whole head like that, and then eventually let them out, and I'll get these ringlets, and I'll brush through those. I go the same direction for all of them. So I've learned that the longer I let my hair set, not just in the clips, but even if I've curled my hair without the clips, if I have a long time to let it set in the curl pattern I want, even if it looks a little too tight, too Pollyanna-ish, too much of a Pollyanna effect, when I do eventually finger brush my hair or take a comb and brush it out, it lasts much better, especially in drier climates like Los Angeles. That said, when it's super long like this, it usually ends up falling to just the faintest suggestion of a curl, all the same. That's fine. I still like that kind of Veronica Lake, soft, old Hollywood look. But if I do want, after it's fallen, to reintroduce some of that curl, or not reintroduce it because I have to still have some curl to begin with, but to bring that curl back out, I can just twist all of it together like this and then pin it up, and and leave it like that for an hour or so while I drive or while I do a chore, and then when I let it loose again, some of that original curl has been restored. But it only really works if it was curled at some point, if that makes sense. Like, the hair either has to be a little bit damp when you do that, or has to have had some curl to begin with. One or the other. And usually it works better in the latter case because my hair takes so stinking long to dry that if I try to set it with some curls in it just by twisting it when it's wet, it won't 100% dry when it's twisted, you know. The areas that don't have contact with the air will never dry fully. So I'll take it out and it'll just fall, you know. It really needs to be set and completely dried and cooled in the shape that I want in order to have any chance at staying at all. So that's kind of everything. I'm sorry I'm so raspy these days. It's really been a struggle lately to do soft speaking. I need to figure out what that's about, and I tried cough drops this time and that still didn't help. Anyway, I hope this answered some of your questions about my hair. I'm happy to make follow-up videos that go more into depth in terms of my curling technique or my overnight curls or how I brush it, how I prep it when it's wet, like not prep it, but yeah, how I prep it for air drying, anything like that. I'm happy to expand on in a future video. So yeah, please leave any questions you have below. Let me give you a close look at the color before we go. Just while we're here, I don't even know if you can focus on that, but as you can see, there's some really bright copper, but also some blonde. Let me see if I can show you my little blonde spot. I don't know if you even saw it. So anyway, so thank you all so much for watching and listening. I hope you get lots and lots of good REM sleep, and as always, I hope all your dreams are sweet.